Kia ora. I'm going to put together week 2 of my Picture My Life album that I'm doing this year. And this week's mainly been filled up with a trip down sort of Clyde, Ophir, Alexandra, and a little bit further afield from that as well, that my husband did sort of as a pre-anniversary getaway. What I've actually gone ahead and done on the photos is I've added little labels in them. So to do that, I use the Snapseed app on my iPhone, and I just added in some little labels, including the week 2 label on that photo that I've got there in the top left. Now, I've played around with my printing this week. I wasn't very happy with how my photos were printing on the selfie. I'm not sure if it's an editing thing. Maybe the selfies have a use by date or an overuse date. It certainly had a workout, but I just thought I'd try using one of my other printers, which is a different Canon printer, and I've really liked the glossy look, but I need to play around with a bit more on my phone on how to get them the right size. So you'll notice that I grabbed a 12 by 12 piece of paper and I've cut that into 4 by 6 oblongs, and those are to back the photos because the photos are printed out a bit smaller than the true 4 by 6 size that will fit neatly into these Picture My Life album pages. So I chose a paper that I thought would work on either side with the patterns that were on it. So I've labelled my photos, and I've also got a few more photos than would fit just on this layout. So I'm going to use a couple of flip flaps to show some of the other information with a little bit of journaling, as well as tucking the photos in behind there. So I'll show that as this process goes on a little bit more. So the other photo that I've got there is extracting some more honey from our beehives, which my husband did early on in the week. So it was nice to get a few more jars packed away. There might only be one more sort of extraction before the end of the year. So I'm sticking down the photos onto those patterned paper backgrounds. Now, the collection that I'm using both for the papers and for the Picture My Life cards is called Sweet as Honey, which happens to be this month's feature collection with Close to My Heart. Now, I'm really loving these warm colours with our summer days that we've been having here in New Zealand, in Central Otago recently, and it fits with sort of what I'm documenting here. So I love that plaid, and I'm going to use that paler yellow piece to do my journaling. So now I'm just going to journal on those, as well as doing some of the journaling on the cards that sort of pop open into the flip flaps. So when the flip flaps will work, so I'm going to flip it over on the page, and then you'll be able to read the journaling that's tucked in behind. And I've also got a photograph of the food we ate at each of these 2 places tucked in behind the flip flap as well. So got those there. Now I've got some sticker sheets that came. I got the paper and sticker collection, as well as some of these sort of corkboard shapes as well. So I've got a few of them, and they've got hearts, or sort of got this I've forgotten the name of these floral designs, but I'm going to pull that one into there. So the photo that I'm sticking that on is the smokehouse room at Oliver's Lodge and Restaurant. Now, we stayed in part of this room. It's sort of changed a bit in the last 23 years for our honeymoon 23 years ago. So it was kind of fortunate that it was the only room left available on the night my husband was booking. So I've put that cork there just for that old-fashioned old world kind of thing. It's got a lot of history. Both of the places we stayed at actually have quite a bit of history. The Pictures store that's down below, reading through all the written documentation, I came across a couple of names that I recognised from our family tree that my auntie has worked on, and I went online and checked it, and sure enough the names matched up, and I messaged her to see what the connection was, and it turned out that my great-great-grandfather was one of the previous owners of Pictures store. So that was another connection to the places that we were staying at. And both of these places are absolutely gorgeous, lots of heritage, and the food is spectacular as well. When you're married to a chef, it's often nice to go to places where he really enjoys what he's eating. So hats off to the 2 chefs, or the chefs that may have been working on these meals. So I think I've added enough of the embellishing onto this page. I don't want to overdo it because I want the photos to be the main story and the embellishments just add to it. So now I am tucking things into the different page protectors, and you can see me putting here the pictures into that flip flap. What the flip flap does is it just adds an extra element to the page, or it allows me to add more photos and creates a little bit of interaction. So interested to see how this all works out over the year. Hopefully I don't have too many of these flip flaps, or it might be a rather full album. So now's the tricky bit where I have to put it into the back of week one's album. So I'm just tucking things in there, hoping I've got them in the right order, and I do mess up the bottom two photos and put them in the wrong slots. So, and I go back a little bit later on and swap them over. But you can see here the idea of that. I'm just going to stick down these flip flaps, and then I'll go back and fix that mistake. Now when I was sticking down the flip flaps, because the edge is right where the holes are going to be for the album, I had to make sure I wasn't covering those up, and I do make a mistake sticking this one down, and I find it's just a little bit uneven at the top, so I've shifted this around to re-add it on there. So there, that's looking much better, and now's when I notice that I've got those two photos, or those two bottom elements around the wrong way, so just fixing them up. And now I'm pretty happy with how that's looking, and that's week 2. Thanks for watching.